Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to another student case study video. I'm here with Hudson. Welcome, brother.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Good to have you. It's very, very cool because you've gotten some results in a very, very swift and quick time frame, in comparison to most. So I think it's really, really cool, especially in setting. And I just want to highlight at the very beginning, you've gone from being a Sparky, and so for people who aren't Australians listening, so Americans, that's an electrician to $7,000 a month setting. Is it pretty much your first month setting or your second?
Yeah, the better part of a month. It was 2 weeks of January, so yeah, first full month.
Insane. So super, super cool. And the reason I want to get Hudson on is, I mean, a lot of Australian people will definitely resonate with his story. But just like everyone else I interview on this channel, really, really cool stuff to see. Shattered some insane beliefs very, very early on. And it all started from a conversation with your mate Ben, which is also on the channel as well, Ben Wheeler. So I really want to start way, way, way back when, before you met me, before you had conversations with Ben. Let's uh let's talk about where all this started. Like when did you first learn about making money online? Like what vehicles have you seen? Have you seen a couple people shouting at you online, like make $1,000 a day, blah blah blah. Like let's start there.
Well, pretty much starting from the start, I actually just traveled Central America for roughly 2 months with a couple of my friends. And really, this whole idea kind of popped into my head while I was overseas, because I saw people, digital nomads, I suppose you'd call them. Uh, they're over there working online, making money, living, traveling just comfortably. And it kind of got me thinking there's no way I can go back to working a 9 to 5. So that kind of led me into when I got back. I actually signed up for a digital marketing course, paid for it. I think it was about 3K.
Hmm.
Um, Fast forward another couple of weeks, I'd started that and I was still working as a Sparky. And then I caught up with Ben. We actually ran a race together. Anyway, we were just sitting in the car and I asked him what he did. I wanted to pick his brain a little bit. And then Connor's name came up. And pretty much from there, I looked up the Instagram, pick Ben's brain some more. And I was like, this is something that I could do. And really, like, it's quite not saturated, that's not the right word, but you do see a lot of it on the internet and you just don't really think that it is real. But after talking to Ben and seeing that this is something that actually is profitable, and like Ben had done it in, I think it was maybe 4 to 6 months,
Mm,
I was
yeah.
just like, there's absolutely nothing, different between Ben and I that would stop me from getting to the position that he's in. So I pretty much got a refund on the digital marketing course that I applied for and gave it straight back to Connor.
Love it. Yeah, and so it's super powerful, right? Having someone that you know personally that's doing the type of thing. It's like it makes it that much more real. Because talking about like where you're from as well, what's the town actually called outside of Victoria?
Benalla. I could be
Benalla.
very wrong, but there's only a couple of thousand people that live here, so it's yeah, it's certainly a small country town.
Yeah, I was forgetting the name. I knew it was quite odd or strange. Benalla. Is that right?
Benalla, yeah.
Benalla. Okay, close enough. Um, but yeah, there's thousands of only a couple thousand people in that town. It's a very small country town. And when I spoke to Ben about this as well, the same story goes of, man, when I started getting into high ticket sales, everybody was like, dude, what are you doing? Why are you not doing a trade? Right? Because I mean, that's like the vast majority of the mindset over there is like few people go to university, but majority of people end up doing a trade or learning that type of skill. What are your thoughts on
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, certainly. Well, that's how I fell into it, I'll say. I did actually go to university for, I think it was 2 months before COVID. And then when COVID hit, I moved back home and I was kind of, you- kicking the can down the road, I suppose you'd say, for a few months after that. And then I thought, well, I need to get a job. So that's kind of what led me to getting an apprenticeship, and don't get me wrong, I did enjoy doing that apprenticeship. Like I was quite good at what I did, and I worked for a great boss. Like there wasn't really a an issue per se around the job and the environment, but I've kind of always had this, inkling in the back of my head that I'm going to make a lot of money one day. I'm just not sure how I'm going to do it.
Mm, mm,
And once I kind of found this vehicle through Ben and kind of the high ticket sales world, something just clicked in my head. And I was like, this is what's going to take me to where I want to go.
mm. And I mean, you started with me how long ago? Was it 5 months ago in that
Yeah,
range?
4 or 5 months ago. I think it was the start of December. Might have been,
So
yeah,
December. Okay, so
yeah.
just 4 months, and he's making 7K a month as a setter. Not bad at all, brother. Not bad at all. Yeah, 4 months is a really quick upswing, which is really, really good. Typical average, as you would know, like it's 4 to 6 months is typically what we see. And you're also looking at the progression from setting to closing pretty soon as well. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, that's looking like something that'll happen within the next month, a month hopefully. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that. And so tell me tell me more about like your experience with I guess trying to make money on the past. Did you try anything? Did you do anything? Did you try dabble in drop shipping or did you see a bunch of ads from people online a while ago, a couple of years ago? Like what's your experience with that?
I actually have never tried anything except for
Yeah.
doing this. Um, always, I'm not sure if it's a tradie mindset or a small country town mindset. The stuff you see online, like it's all rubbish and it's not legitimate. So I suppose that's what's held me back from trying anything previously. And I'm not really one for doing something if I can't see that I'm going to be really good at it.
Mm.
Which I suppose is what stopped me from doing anything previously. But I knew that going into this, like this is something that I'm going to make happen, like regardless.
I think that's a really key mindset to observe as well. Is like what I see in most successful people is it's more like an all or nothing mindset. And what is a good trait in, I guess, new salespeople or fantastic salespeople in general is that wanting to be the best because you are the best setter on your team at the moment, right?
Yeah,
And that goes a really long way. It's like you have to have the mindset of like I'm going to be the best even if I'm not now. I know that I'm very open and really willing and ready to learn because that was the same mindset that you had. I remember when you came in, you started work with me. It was like the first week or second week. You're like, "Oh, hey man, I got like an interview for like a was it a trading agency or something like that?"
yeah, it was. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, very similar to Ben. It's just like jumped in, didn't hear from me for 2 weeks, and then, "Hey man,
yeah,
we've got this offer
yeah,
that I'm looking at." So like let's talk about I guess your journey with this. So you started out, you're pretty certain that you could get it working, I'm sure, because you've seen Ben doing it, and you're like, I
yeah,
just need to do what Ben was doing.
yeah.
So what what has your journey been like from your first role? What did that look like? Because I want to give people a perception of like what this journey can actually look like, the pitfalls and things like that.
Yeah.
So what was the first role that you got and how did it turn out?
Well, almost back a step from the first role that I got.
Mm.
Uh, I guess is more of like a zoomed out focus. Pretty much how I structured it, like in those 4 months, like from December, like maybe take out a couple of weeks, obviously, because Christmas and whatnot. Um, Pretty much how I structured my day was I'd go and work for, 8 to 10 hours. I'd come home and then study for two. And it was just that, or I say study, but that's, anything that kind of lays out in the program.
Hmm.
Uh, and pretty much I just kept doing that until I started landing offers. And you start networking and making those links with people, and eventually the offers do start coming in. I think I had maybe two or three interviews, which I didn't get, but
Was that in your
and I think
first, second week, third week?
yeah, that was the first 2 weeks of January. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so I did like 2 weeks at the start of December. Then I kind of backed off because we went on holiday, whatever, it's festive season.
Yeah.
And then yeah, really ramped it up in Jan because I actually decided that I wasn't going to go back to being a Sparky. Like I told my boss at the work party, I'm like, I appreciate it, but I'm not coming back to work. Like I'm making this work. So pretty much head down from then, and then yeah, had a few offers, few interviews, none of them landed, but just kept going. And then I had a conversation with Ben. I was actually up in the Gold Coast, and I remember it like it was yesterday. And hopefully, if Ben watches this back, he'll have a little chuckle to himself.
Yeah.
But we actually went for a run along, Burley Heads, and we ran up the hill, and there's a little lookout spot up the top there. And he looked at me and he said, "Mate, remember this moment, because in the next 2 or 3 months you'll be making, 8 to 10K a month." And that was about a month and a half ago. And then after that, and on that run, sorry, he said that he'll talk to his sales manager. And then
Mm.
I had that interview while I was on holiday. And then by the time I got back, so halfway through Jan, it would have been the 15th of Jan.
Hmm.
Yep, I had a setting role and
Hmm.
pretty much just yeah, took it full steam from there.
Love it, man. Yeah. Shout out to Ben and shout out to Jack as well. Jack's obviously a good lad. Takes care
Yeah.
of you guys very, very well. So yeah, that's really cool, man. It's like these little conversations, these little kind of events in your life that kind of add up to where you are right now. And it's just cool to observe that you're already looking at after the fact, like that one conversation
Mm.
is where everything just started to shift and change and move. And it shows the real power of knowing people in this industry, really any industry.
So,
Like all that is networking. All that
yeah.
is you had someone connected in the company that you wanted to work with and they helped you land the job. Now, given obviously you had to interview well, but
Yeah.
given all your characteristics that I've observed and how hard you work, you know, it was pretty much undeniable that you get a good job eventually. And wherever you're going to go, you're going to be successful because you work hard. And that's the same mindset that, really everyone should have in the community, which is that I may be green, I may be new, I may not have a lot of experience, but I'm hungry. I know I can be the best on the team. I'm willing to learn. I'm going to make a company a lot of money. It just depends on which, right? It doesn't matter if it's this one or if it's that one or if this person tells me no or whatever it is. At some point, someone is going to accept me onto their team and I'm going to make them millions of dollars. That's the mindset that you need to have, I'd say.
Yeah. And it's I think the most underestimated thing that I've certainly learned now being on the team and seeing new people come in, the most underrated thing is actually the willingness to learn. Like if you
Yep.
have the willingness to learn, it's pretty much game over. Like the skills are there to be learned. People have done it before you. And if you have that willingness, then it's only up from there.
1,000%. I think so many people are so close-minded because you have to think about it like this, man. Everybody that comes out of high school or the moment you finish university, you stop learning, right? Most people just stop learning altogether. Personal development, things like that. It's only later in life that maybe they start having a few massive events or problems where they start kicking into gear that they need to start learning about other things. But most people, when they finish high school or formal education, they just completely forget to pick up a book or they just think there's nothing new to learn. And the only things they can learn are the things at their current job, but that they're not as open as they need to be. And I think one of the great things I've observed in you and observed in many others that are really successful is the ability to put your ego to the side, to go, cool, this person is in front of me. In order to catch up to them, I need to put my ego to the side. In order to make that sprint, I just need to put my, not dignity, but I need to put my, I guess, feelings about myself, my confidence I have about myself aside for a minute and just be open and willing to learn from somebody.
Yeah.
Because when you're first beginning, I see this a lot with new sales reps too, which is like I think I know everything. And even people who come in the community, right? Rahul said this on his interview the other day, which was like everything that you told me that I didn't want to listen to came true 3 months later, 4 months later, 5 months later. Because
Yeah.
you don't want to listen, you want to do it your way. But like you mentioned, you were generating a couple interviews within your first 1 to 2 weeks,
Yeah.
right? Most people in the comments industry struggle to generate interviews for a long time, let alone have any solid shot and opportunity to actually land a role and a good role at that. Because the ones you were talking to, especially like the trade agency one, they sounded pretty decent, right?
Yeah, it was. It was a good offer, yeah. But and I remember that conversation with you, um, about detaching, I guess, the feeling from it, like
Mm,
and letting it bounce off you. I guess that comes with dropping the ego as well. Like it's all part of the process, and it happens, and like it has for me and a lot of other people, you do end up landing something. It's just a matter of persevering and getting through it.
and the problem with time is time takes time. That's it.
Exactly.
And it's the same thing with getting good at the skill in itself as well. It's like the same thing. Time takes time. You're not going to be Jordan Belfort clapping around the room, uh, smacking at everybody about being the best salesperson in the world in the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months. Like it's just not the reality. As we know, there's a lot of people in the industry that talk about, well, you're going to be a high ticket closer in 60, 90 days, and you're going to be closing deals by the beach. On the offer that you've been working on, that's far from reality, right? You work pretty hard to get the results you get, right?
Yeah, certainly. And I think the beauty of the offer that I'm on is I'm surrounded by professionals. Like, I'm surrounded by the best. And the saying, the people you surround yourself with, you surround yourself with five professionals, you're going to become the sixth. That's the amazing thing about the offer that I'm on,
Mm,
is that now it's not money focused. It's more about learning all the skills.
yeah, yeah. And that's such a switch in mindset of like, cool, I'm not trying to becoming a millionaire in the next year. I'm just trying to learn skills and get good at skills. Because once you're really good at setting like you are now, top of the team, once you get good at closing, it's such a skill that you can rely on. Like same thing as like, doing becoming an electrician, for example. You can always rely on that skill because it's not going to go anywhere and people aren't going to replace that. AI is not going to replace that in the coming years. People will always need electricians. And there's a steep decline, I might be wrong, but there's a steep decline of people actually wanting to do trades nowadays, right? Not
Yeah.
a lot of younger
Work.
people, yeah, not a lot of younger people have that career appeal to them or want to do really hard work, right? Just people just don't want to do it anymore. So the whole thing is like optimizing for skills and making or kind of hedging yourself against any economy, any downturn, any pandemic, anything that's going to go on. As long as you know that you can sell, you're always going to be able to make money, no matter what you're doing, no matter what's happening. So I'm very, I'm very, very curious. Like, what's it been like going from an electrician to having more time to yourself, having more freedom, having more flexibility? You can write your own schedule, you can write your day. Like, what does that transition look like?
Well, for someone like me, I'm very big into, I suppose you'd say, personal development, working out. And it's kind of always been the thing that's on the back burner. Like, after work, being a tradie, you fit it in when you can, or you're doing it early in the morning. And moving into, really creating my own schedule, it's allowed me to, I think, advance a lot quicker as well. Like, I'm able to read a lot more. I'm able to really put time into, mastering these skills that, are going to make me into, that person that I've always known that I'm going to become. And I suppose having that freedom it's definitely a shift because I'm probably viewed as a lot of people that work online, especially being from a small country town. It's different. People actually view it as, because you're at home, you're not working.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that's so
even
true. Yeah.
as I love my family to bits, but I certainly cop a few, backhanded comments about, oh, you've been home all day.
Yeah.
But the thing with that is like, it kind of goes both ways. I'm probably working more now than I ever have, but because I have that balance of creating my own schedule, it's almost like you're not living for the weekend. And you have the ability to do what you want during the week. So you're not hanging out for Saturday and Sunday because you're able to balance everything nicely. And really, every day kind of just doesn't look the same, but you have that routine where you can keep everything in balance. And because you can work the 6 or 7 days, it really just maximizes your earning potential. And it's more of a lifestyle around work because it can be and it's sustainable, which is probably the biggest thing that I've found. And it's probably the biggest shift for me, I suppose. Like, because I don't really, I mean, going on a little bit of a tangent, but my lifestyle's changed a lot
Mm,
in terms of the people that I have in my circle now.
yeah.
I certainly don't go out of my way to talk to the people that I used to, because they're the people that are free on the weekends. You go out and I've stopped drinking personally
Good man.
because of that lifestyle shift. It's not, I'm living for the weekend. It's like the weekend's a time, especially when you're calling people on the phone. It's when people are on their phones more, which
Mm,
is, like I said, a little bit of a tangent, but it's one of those things. It's, you can optimize your time so much better. And
mm.
like I said, it's really just income generating activities that are going to, like fast forward what you're trying to do. And I think it's just all around, it's a more effective lifestyle.
Yeah, totally. Like, it's actually someone mentioned it to me pretty recently. I think it's like so true. Whereas like when you're working from home or you have more of that flexibility, you are right. When you have a structured 9 to 5 to juggle, you have a commute there and back home, especially if you're in your trade, right? That can be quite tough on you, right? I just spoke to Luke early today for an interview, and he's like, like 2 or 3 hours to job site, 2 or 3 hours back. Like sometimes it's a long commute, and then trying to juggle that with gym, health, things like that. It's really hard because that personal development and that learning, that education is going to take a back seat because it's not your priority. And then when the weekend rolls around, it's like, all right, well, it's my only time to relax and decompress. Let's go out drinking with the boys. All right, let's
Yep.
go out party, have some fun. And then Monday rolls over again, and that same cycle continues for years, right?
Yep.
For a lot of young people, it's like from 18 to 25, 26, even to some older ages at some point. But then the like the years just fly by because you're doing the
Yep.
same thing over and over again. I was speaking to a good friend about this as well, where he said that changing your lifestyle up, environments, people you hang out with, things that you do, fun activities, can tend to slow time down because when you do things the same day, every week in, week out, time starts to compress really
Yep.
quickly. And you start to your younger years start to just fly by and you start to lose them all because over the past couple of years, like from 20 to 23, like I was 18 a couple months ago from my
Yep.
standpoint. Like time happens very, very quickly. And I think it's very hard to prioritize that time spent on personal development and education and learning. Thus, it's almost near impossible to get out of that loop. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, couldn't agree more. And I think that's one thing that's really propelled my life forward now is that personal development and education is pretty much in the driver's seat because I actually read this quote. I'm reading Mastery by Robert Greene at the moment. It says mastery is learning to adhere to the highest standards. And that's pretty much what like when I read that, it like really resonated. I'm like, that's, you have to adhere to the highest standards to be able to get to where you want to go.
1,000%. And so many people have such a low standard, right?
Mm.
A low standard of living, low standard of relationships, low standard of friendships, low standard of environment. And you're always going to fall to your lower standard, right? Because we can't be disciplined all the time. We can't be motivated all the time. Absolutely not. But it's like you mentioned earlier before, like being surrounded by a bunch of professionals on the team. It's like that is your environment. That is your lowest standard. And
Yeah.
so, for example, like guys like Ben, guys like Saxon, Riley when he was working on the account and all the other Australian guys, it's like you'll all want to win and you're on that same baseline. So if you're sinking below it, it's like, well, there's the door. So it's not like in a negative competitive way. It's more of like a positive, uplifting competition baseline threshold that kind of keeps you going and keeps you pushing. Because again, if you're surrounded in a job where you're just surrounded by people who talk about the same things, do the same things over and over. Saxon talked about this a while ago, which I'm looking forward to getting him on the channel at some point because I know he's on the up and up as well. But he said the same thing, going to the same work site with the same tradies, talking about the same stuff,
Yeah.
same shitty ideas, same shitty perceptions, all just talk about complete rubbish. The more you
Yeah.
become aware of that. And if you stay around that for a long enough period of time, you'll become that.
Yeah. And you start to believe it. Yeah.
Yeah, and your beliefs is like the large sum of the whole process anyway. It's like if you don't believe that 10K a month is possible online or you can make money online, that's going to become true. Like what you believe is your reality. And that's why I think being a part of a community of people that are doing the same thing as you is one of the biggest, highest leverage levers you can pull. Like
Yeah.
how big of a difference has it been being surrounded by like guys like Saxon, like Ben, and a couple other dudes as well? They're in the RSA community, all in the same offer, by the way. For those of you that weren't aware, how's it been being surrounded by guys like that?
It's definitely really positive in terms of how it allows you to think. Like because for the longest time, like, and it's certainly not in an arrogant way, but if you think different to a lot of the people that you're surrounded with, like you can't have the conversations that you want to with people because they just don't get it, which is, a result of, the environments they're in and the limiting beliefs that they do have. So like when I like reconnected with Ben and started having these conversations with him, it was just like this rush of like he thinks the same as I do
Being
and
understood.
being understood. And like even I couldn't even have conversations like that with my mum or dad,
No,
purely just because it's just a different mindset.
it is.
And like I said, like having that conversation with Ben, then moving into this team, being around other like-minded people that have the same drive, have the same vision, like we all want to get to the top, and it just like it rebounds off each other. Like, you didn't think you were, you knew you were driven, but surrounding yourself by these people with that mindset that they also understand, it's like there's nothing more that lights a fire under your ass pretty much that does. Like it's awesome.
Yeah, I think being a part of an actual thriving, engaged, paid community is probably one of the biggest things that changed for me. Because
Mm,
the first mentorship I went to wasn't good at all, 7.5K, but the one that I paid 20K for was a massive difference. Like, you got people in there, they're winning, and it's quite difficult, when you're first starting this journey as well, because everyone's online.
mm.
It's your funny internet friends, right? That don't really
Yeah.
exist, right? It's the people that you talk to over Zoom, and then you're lucky you've got Ben as someone who you've met in real life, but it's these people that you talk to on the other side of the screen. And it doesn't become real until you meet people in real life. It's less tangible,
Yeah.
but it's so hard to conceptualize or explain to people, like especially your parents.
Yeah.
Um, even my parents as well. Love them as I do. It. in the beginning, it was very hard to explain to them what I was doing. And even worse, when you're not getting any results, right? Because it's so difficult to maintain and be consistent when you're not drawing out the results you want. You're not getting the proof of concept. Because I was talking this about with Luke before. It's like the tall poppy syndrome or small poppy syndrome is
Yeah,
rampant
cool.
in
Yeah, yeah,
Australia. It's really, really bad. I was saying before, like, when I was working at Bunnings, right, Australia, uh, I think I spoke to one person one time of what I was doing. Someone told someone, and then I got approached like, "How's your pyramid scheme going? How's your pyramid scheme going?"
yeah,
It's such an Australian thing. It's the funniest thing ever. It's
yeah.
like it's all across the world, but it's very Australian that when it's something that you don't understand, you project a weird label like a pyramid scheme onto something. It's funny to look back at now. It wasn't then. It's funny to look back at now. Like, have you had a very similar experience?
Oh yeah, certainly. It's why I like chuckle a little bit. Like people fear things that they don't understand.
Yeah.
And even though they see somebody else doing it, they just associate something negative with it because there's no way you can make money online. Like it's not real. It must be shady. Like I've got a lot of times like, oh, so you're one of those guys and oh, you just a shady salesman. I'm just like, look, man, this is what I do. I don't expect you to understand what it is. But yeah, this is pretty much my vehicle to get me where I know I'm gonna go.
I mean, it's super hard for people to just understand. If you just say that you're in sales, people
Yeah,
just no idea.
yeah,
I said this to Luke earlier as well. It's like I just even nowadays, I will tell most people, especially in Australia, I don't tell people I'm a business owner now. I say that I just school teacher or
yeah. I
something.
don't tell people either. I just don't. I'll just be like, oh, I just work online.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, what do you do? Oh, sales. And then it goes in that whole rabbit hole. Like, oh, here we go again. Like, I just can't be bothered explaining it. So it's like, yeah. I mean, usually, especially in Australia, like I just generally keep my cards close to my chest because you feel like you have to. Because,
Yeah, certainly.
even if you talk about making money or wanting things like wanting success and things like that, it's generally quite frowned upon in Australia. Like it's
Which
very
is
much
great.
like it's a very weird mentality. In the America in the US, it's pretty encouraged and supported, but like in
Mm,
Australia, even in New Zealand as well, it's also very bad there as well. Like if you're wanting to do something different that's outside of the norm, it's like, how dare you? Like you terrible person.
yeah.
It's super interesting mentality. What are your thoughts on it?
It's super confronting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
certainly very confronting, and you have to. I suppose that's where the shift in mindset comes in, really. It is hard. I think I was probably a little bit more prepared for it because I'd traveled for the last 2 years and I'd been exposed to quite a lot. So I kind of have that, like I said, not arrogance, I suppose, but I don't really care what people think. I actually said this to Ben before. Don't go to people for what is it? Don't go to people.
Don't go to people who haven't achieved what you want to achieve for advice or opinions because they simply don't matter.
Yeah, I can't even remember what the quote was. Yeah,
Something like
but
that. Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, pretty much it's one of those things that you really just have to block it out because if you let it get to you, then you'll stop.
Yeah, exactly right. And it's one of the most difficult parts is because most people, yeah, like most people care about what other people think. It's very hard to shut that off because it's also understanding that if you don't pull this off, the shame and humiliation and embarrassment of not pulling it off is also incredibly scary. And there's a lot of fear around that as well because if you fail, well, everybody's going to shout at you, I told you so. But
Yeah,
in the grand scheme, in the reality of things, you actually find out the more successful you get, actually nobody cares. Nobody cares about you at all. And they never did, right? They never did. All they were doing is just throwing insecurities and projections at you. uh, because you're doing stuff that then they don't have the balls to do at the end of the
Yeah,
day.
that's what it was. Don't listen to criticism from people you wouldn't go to for advice.
Much more cleaner. Yeah, I'd agree. Like that's
It's yeah, and it correlates to a lot of other things. I would say as well, like taking that leap into high ticket sales. That's kind of the initial step, but like now, like flowing on from that, there's several other things like growing my personal brand, which I'm about to really start going into. Like I was saying to you, like it makes it much easier to be able to just really take that step into that. Like I know that it's gonna, like I'll cop a lot of criticism for that, especially being from a small country town,
mhm.
and I'll be exposed to all of that. But again, you don't listen to criticism from people you wouldn't go to for advice because they're not going to end up where I'm going to end up, pretty much. And that's kind of the mentality that I take into it.
And I learned that many, many years ago. Like the amount of people that have just thrown shade on me or, said that I do bad things. Like, I mean, I think it's hilarious now. Like, it's the point where when your success outweighs your doubt, it just becomes to a point where you literally do not care. Because in the position from where I'm sitting, I couldn't care less. And when I hear about people talking about from my hometown, I just crack down laughing, bursting through tears. It's hilarious. Like people go, what's Connor doing nowadays? Like, isn't he just such like a scammer, or is he like yeah, like literally like isn't he just such a scammer, or he thinks he's a motivational speaker, or all these random things. It's very very funny to look back at. And like I'm not from a small country town like yourself, but I'm from a small place. Obviously, you and I both know Tasmania. If you guys are aware of where that is, and you're not Australian, it's a small island beneath Australia. And I'm from a place called Launceston. I think they've got like 120,000 people in the city, so a significant more amount than you, but it's still very small town mentality. It's
Yeah.
like to the point where you're gonna see people that you know from school passing you on the street, and it's the same thing. It's like, oh, what are you doing nowadays? It's like I don't want to talk about it. It's like I
Yeah.
can't be bothered
Exactly.
explaining this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, that's super cool. I appreciate you sharing that because I'm sure a lot of people go through that stage, just as I did, where it's a massive struggle because, like I speak about all the time, it's all about beliefs. It's
Mm.
like if you don't believe it's possible, if you're too scared to take that jump in the first place, if you don't back yourself, no one else will,
Yeah.
right? And I wish someone told me that much younger, at a much earlier age, because there were so many times where I was just kind of at the edge of the cliff, but
Mm.
those second doubts, those second thoughts kind of crept into the back of my mind of like, what if you do this and you fail,
Yeah.
so on and so on. And that happened many times, and I
Yeah.
failed a lot. Like I
Yeah.
fell flat on
And
my face, get scammed, the whole lot.
yeah. And I suppose it's probably good to see at scale, like at different levels. Like for me, it's about going into like, the personal branding content side of things now,
Yeah.
whereas you're kind of at the top end of that. But for people that are looking to get into something online, like, that's like the front end of that, I suppose. Like initially taking that step, like, it happens all along the process.
Mm.
So really all it takes is that, initial step for someone to go, all right, I'm not going to listen to what other people say and actually, commit and have a shot at doing this.
Yeah, and a question I always like to ask people as well in these interviews is like, you never saw yourself doing sales ever, right? You never thought about that growing up. You're like, I'm going to be a salesperson.
Nah, no idea at all. But then, yeah, it all clicked one day and I realized I'm pretty good at this. So this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, it's super interesting looking back because like I remember back in high school I wanted to be a chemical engineer, whatever that was. I've got
Yeah.
no idea. All I know is that my cousin Bronte, she did it. She sounded smart. She sounded successful, and I knew that she earned probably over six figures. And I was like,
Mm.
sick. I was like, that
Yeah.
sounds like the thing that I want to do.
Yeah.
But I failed science, so I couldn't do it. It's like, what else am I going to do? And I saw
Yeah.
some ads for some random guy going like, you can be a high ticket closer like me and close deals by the beach in the next 60 to 90 days. It wasn't 60 to 90 days.
No, certainly not.
Let's put it pretty blankly. But yeah, I mean, tell us a little bit more about your offer, man, because a lot of people, it's hard for them to conceptualize like, cool, like what can you sell where people will pay you thousands of dollars? I know your ticket price point's like 2,500 Aussie at the moment,
2,500 US.
US.
Yep.
And so it's like, who in the world in their right mind would pay thousands of dollars to a stranger on the internet? Like, probably not naming names or like what the company actually is, but like describing what it actually does, like affiliate marketing. Like, what do you sell and how does it actually help people?
Pretty much what we sell is that identity shift in people from moving, from an employee to an entrepreneur. And it kind of just shows people, same as, really, I suppose what we're talking about, like it is possible. Like they're just normal people with normal jobs that, come across something online, which is this affiliate marketing program.
Hmm.
And basically it lays out for them, an A to Z process of, exactly how they make money online. Just, yeah, like I said, step by step process, and really gives them the guidance and I suppose reassurance that this is something that is possible and that has, seen success with other students at scale. Um, and I suppose, yeah, like I said, it's really selling them an identity. And one big thing that, we really reiterate within our team is that we actually help people, and like
Mm,
it changes people's lives. Like what we sell is life changing.
mm,
Like the people that do the program, like some of them make like 50, 60K and up, like per day, per week, per month. Like it's incredible,
mm,
incredible what these people do. And it's really just, and I think that's why I love it so much. And I know I spoke to you about it before the call, but I do really enjoy helping people and seeing people gain the success that they think is unattainable is it's an amazing thing. Like we have one channel on our Slack, which is like our messaging portal.
mhm.
It's social proof, and it gets posted in there like student results. And to see some of the figures, like these people, like I said, they're just normal people working 9 to 5. They've gone from, making a base salary to making millions a year. And
Yeah,
like seeing that it can actually change someone's life. And I suppose that's what we take into the calls is really the fact that you're trying to help these people.
yeah.
And you're really just the hand that's guiding them along and showing them the right way.
That's what sales is about. That's
Yeah.
literally all it is. And I remember one of the guys I'm coaching one-on-one recently said to me one of the biggest shifts and changes for him on how to learn how to sell better and communicate more effectively and persuade is that you're not just going for the sale, but you're actually helping people. And
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, man, that's exactly what you're trying to do. And he's like, oh, I didn't get that. I'm like, yeah, that's literally what sales is about. It's helping somebody who's identified they've got a problem. They know there's a solution out there. They're wondering if you can help them with it. And you're helping them make the change between where they are now and where they want to go. As simple as that. And like, even for more, I guess, confirmation of proof of like how well the offers clients are doing that you're working with. Like they
Mm.
have like what collective 260 million or something like that that they've sold. What's the number?
Yeah, so the ClickBank certification is 279 million,
Yeah.
which is yeah, absolutely out of this world.
And that's in how long?
I think that was last year that was. I mean, like I've only been on it since January, so I couldn't give you a definite answer, but I'm pretty sure that was last year. Yeah.
So it's like in 1 year, the clients, the offer that you're selling into collectively have made, close to $280 million, right?
Mm.
And so I think that the thing I kind of wanted to preface with that or to give context with is that it's like the offers that you're selling in the high ticket coaching space, high ticket sales space, yeah, there's a lot of shit out there that really sucks.
Mm.
but there's a good percentage that do help people. And that's the whole aim of what this is about. It's like whether or not it's starting your own business, whether or not it's high ticket sales, whether or not it's getting, helping men with dating or relationship coaching or fitness or whatever it is. There's so many problems that you can solve, and a lot of people don't really talk about, I guess, the impact that you can make by being by selling the service that you're selling to people. Like
Yeah.
I've spoken to the guys a lot about this, where it's like if you believe at the bottom of your heart that what you're selling is in the prospect's best interest and they've told you that they wanted it and why,
Mhm.
it's in your moral and ethical obligation to sell it to them, in my belief, right? And if you're not, you're doing them a disservice. And if you want to think about it in this way, if you're selling fitness coaching, for example, and the person's overweight, they're on their way to an early grave, they have low energy, they can't spend the time with the kids that they want, and you don't have the sales skills to sell that person into what you're offering and you believe it can help them, that's an ethical dilemma, in my opinion. You should be sickened with yourself that you're not good enough to sell that person. Because that person, if you can't help them persuade themselves as to why they need to make the change, they're going to move on their way to an early grave. They're going to continue to have low quality of life, low energy. It's not going to just affect them, it's going to affect people around them. It's going to affect their kids, maybe their partner, everything above board. So it's like the reason why I love sales as a skill so much, because without running or owning your own business, you can make such an impact in so many people's lives without having to do any fulfillment, without having to do any marketing or have any client headaches or anything like that. You're literally just helping someone get from their problem to a solution that they want and changing the situation from where they are now to where they want to go. I think that's why I'm so passionate about sales and I love it so much. It's just basically just helping people get out of their own way.
Yeah. Yeah, I have it written up on my whiteboard. It says care about the person.
Yeah. Like
Everything
it's
else, everything else just falls into place after that.
100%. I like to always say as well, it's like if I'm not where I want to be in life, it's because I'm not helping enough people or enough of the right people. That's it, right? That goes for sales, it goes for business, it goes for everything. It's like there are people out there that need help with a solution, right? There's a way that you can go and sell someone for someone else's company. You can create your own company and help people with it. There is people out there that more than likely need your help. And it's always, how can I be an active service? How can I help people today? Because so many people have this selfish way of thinking of how can I get what I want today? How can I what's in it for me? But what
Yeah,
I found is when you're more selfless and you think, cool, how can I help other people to get to where I want to go? That's the true transformation. And that's where things really started to change for me personally.
yeah.
100%. So I think for you, man, what what's your experience now? Like you're making 7K a month. That's only going to increase. Like you'll be at 10K a month within the next 30, 60 days after that. I'm very certain of that. What are your plans for next year, man? You want to travel the world? Are you and Ben gonna move places? What's the deal?
Well, that's also been spoken about at length. It changes a million times before anything actually happens. But
Yeah, as it does. As it does.
I am gonna move to the Gold Coast with Ben,
Oh yeah.
and then really, like we touched on before, just be surrounded by people that are like-minded, people that are doing the same thing, and like I said, it really just accelerates everything. And yeah, and like I said to you, like before the call, man, like I'd love to move to Dubai,
Yeah.
whether that's at the end of next year, but yeah, really, sky's the limit. I think that's the beauty of it. I don't have to have a plan because I'm going to be able to do whatever I want.
Yeah. That's really cool, man. It's like it's the world's your oyster. It's an open container. You can do what you want when you want. And
Mm,
because it's a skill that you can get better at, the better you get at it, the more money you make.
exactly.
But you don't find that in most careers, more
Mm,
generally. It's like you show up, you get paid, and to progress your income, it's either through time, experience, where you work your way up in a company where you're kind of you're brown nosing everybody is the best way I
Yeah.
put it, and you're really just a suck up, and you're climbing the corporate ladder. Whereas like in sales, you're paid in direct proportion to the results you bring to the table,
Yeah.
which is an interesting sensation because like you've done Sparky work. Did you have any jobs before that?
No, I was a pizza boy, but that's about it. That was just my, high school job. But yeah, before that, that was it.
What pizza shop? Domino's or
No, it was just a local pizza shop, just a family friend.
okay, not so bad then. How long did you do that for?
That was 5 years. Yeah,
Wow.
from yeah, 14 to 18, 19, whatever it was. Yeah.
Okay, definitely not a short time then.
Nah, no, that's
That's
it.
not a yeah, okay. That's cool. And so for you, man, I think what would you say your general feedback from being the RSA is like? Like how has it benefited you? What have you liked about the training? What like the one-on-one access to me, like what do you think have been like the biggest things that have made an impact?
I am glad you asked that question because it's one of those things like, just before this call, like I was thinking, that would come up because I do really want to answer it in the right way in terms of um, making sure people realize that this is all, everything's laid out for you. And that's the beauty of the RSA and having access to you is that like the skills, like knowledge, resources, access to you, everything's involved in the program. Like the blueprint is laid out in front of you. It's just your willingness to do it. And I think that's what I've found just moving forward in general. Like there's people before us and there'll continue to be people after us that, the skills are there to learn. You just have to learn them.
Hmm. And what do you think or you found the impact is of having access to a community like the guys you get access to in there?
It's people to bounce off again. It's people in the same boat as you. People asking questions that you might want to ask but aren't, confident enough to ask.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it's really just being around like-minded people. It gives you the confidence to be able to ask those questions and to really progress. And even if you're stuck on something, like I know I messaged Connor so many times. Just questions, concerns, just anything. But that's what other people are in the community for as well. Is to bounce those questions off. Like see people having similar struggles, asking people how they'd handle certain situations, certain setbacks. And yeah, just being like around that community of people that are like-minded, it's almost comforting in the aspect that, it kind of reinforces that you are doing the right thing and that this is a path that you can take.
100%. I mean, since you've been in there for a while now, you've been at least 4 months. You've
Yeah.
gone off Ben's word. Are you pretty happy after jumping in after what's Ben's recommendation?
Yeah, like I said, it's certainly my whole life's done a 180 and really that was the start point was joining the RSA.
100%. What would you say to someone who's kind of just sitting on the fence? Because there's a lot of people out there that probably watch the YouTube channel or, they've seen my stuff for a while and they're just kind of here nor there, not too sure. Maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. Like, what would you say to someone who's kind of sitting on the fence, do you think?
I've done it, why can't you?
That's brilliant. That's all that
Simple as
needs
that.
to be said.
It
Yeah,
doesn't be, you don't need to fluff it up or anything. I'm just a normal person. You're just a normal person. There's, there's nothing special about what we do. The
hmm
skills are there for you to learn. And yeah, I did it, so there's no reason that you can't.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, and that's something I like to harp on about quite a lot, which is I try to normalize myself, humanize myself as much as possible because it's
Yeah.
like I'm no different from you. We're very normal guys. There is nothing special about us. It's
Yeah.
like, you went to university for a bit? No.
Yeah, tiny bit. Yep.
Tiny bit. What did you study?
2 months. Oh, sorry, what did I study? I studied sports science.
Okay, studied sports science for 2 months. So barely been to university. I haven't been to university, college, what you guys call in the US. Like there is really no difference between us and you. And
Mhm.
the main thing is just believing in yourself because it's so possible. There's so many people out there that are doing the things that you want to do. It's all about the active choice of whether or not it's going to be you.
Yep.
The only person that's going to back yourself is you at the end of the day. So I think that's really, really key. If we're going to finish off today on a final note, if you wanted to just give advice or suggestions or learnings or anything, like one key kind of takeaway that you'd want to share with somebody who's listening and watching right now, what would it be?
Trying to deliver my punchline before. I know, but
Mm.
but honestly, it's one of those things that you never know unless you give it a go and stop listening to the criticism of the people that aren't doing it. Uh, and you'll find it's quite a beautiful thing when you do break free, I suppose, from the hold of that 9 to 5 and really that cycle that, I'd say 80% of people are stuck in. Um, like there is other things out there that you can do, as we've both proven. And yeah, like I said before, I've done it, normal person. Um, all it takes is a little bit of hard work and discipline and you'll get there.
Dude, very well said. Very well said. Well, we'll tie off things there today. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed that interview. Hopefully, you learned a lot from Hudson's story, and obviously, you're a little bit inspired on, I don't know if it's something that you can do yourself as well. Uh, we'll pretty much just finish it there, legend. So, thanks for hopping on.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
No worries. See you guys.